You know, if you run a small business, whether it's a bakery or a local coffee shop, rising energy costs are a massive headache. They're just eating away at your bottom line, making it super tough to compete. But what if there was a clear system to actually get those costs under control? Well, we're going to follow the journey of one cafe that did exactly that. And trust me, the lessons they learned are pretty fascinating.
So let's take a look at Old Town White Coffee. Like literally thousands of other businesses, they looked at their energy bill and realized it was a huge expense. But here's the thing, instead of just shrugging and paying it, they decided to tackle it head on. And their story? It's pretty much a perfect playbook for how to turn a big, messy problem into a totally manageable plan.
And that's the million-dollar question, right? I mean, it can feel totally overwhelming. Where do you even begin? Well, as we're about to see, the answer isn't about guesswork or just, changing a few light bulbs and hoping for the best. It's about having a system.
Okay, so to tackle a challenge like this, you need a solid plan. For Old Town White Coffee, this meant they had to shift their thinking from just paying the bills to actively managing how they used energy.
Their secret weapon is something called an Energy Management System, or MS for short. Seriously, think of it like a playbook for saving energy. It's a formal, structured way to turn a vague goal like, let's use less power, into a real, concrete, step-by-step process. And building this system, as we'll find out, is the real prize.
All right, so before you can even think about saving money, you've got to build the foundation. This is all about defining the rules of the game so that everybody knows exactly what you're trying to do and, importantly, how you're going to measure success.
And it really boils down to 3 simple but absolutely critical steps. First, you define the scope. What are you even measuring? In this case, it was electricity and natural gas. Second, you identify the stakeholders. Who's involved in this? From the managers to the staff, even the suppliers. And third, you set a formal policy. This is the official rulebook that's going to guide every single decision.
And look, they put their commitment right down on paper. This isn't just some casual chat in a team meeting, it's an official policy. Writing it down makes it real. It sends a message to absolutely everyone, from the top down, that energy management is a serious priority for the business.
Okay, foundation set. Now for the fun part, the detective work. You can't fix a problem if you don't know where it is, right? So this phase is all about following the data to find the biggest energy consumers, or as we like to call them, the energy hogs.
So the first clue always comes from looking at the big picture. They track their electricity use for a whole year. This shows you the natural rhythm of the business. You see the peaks, you see the valleys in consumption. And that creates your baseline, the starting point for everything else.
But, knowing the total amount of energy you use is good, but it doesn't really tell you what's broken. To do that, you have to dig deeper. You've got to ask the most important question of all. Where is all that electricity actually going?
And boom, here's the answer. This chart is the big reveal. Just look at that massive slice for kitchen equipment. We're talking nearly 40%. That's more than the entire dining area and the air conditioning put together. The data is practically screaming. The kitchen is where you need to focus.
So yeah, the investigation pointed to one clear culprit. The kitchen, with all its ovens and grills and fryers, was the undisputed heavyweight champion of energy use. With this data in hand, they finally had a clear target. You've probably heard the saying, identifying the problem is half the battle. Well, now for the other half, creating a strategic plan to actually fix it. This is where you go from just looking at data to taking action. And they started with a super clear, ambitious goal. They didn't just say, hey, let's save some energy. No, they got specific. Reduce total energy consumption by 10% in 1 year. That is a perfect example of a SMART goal. It's specific, it's measurable, and it's time-bound. It gives the entire team a real target to aim for.
And to hit that 10% target, they broke it down into smaller, bite-sized projects. They found specific opportunities, like getting better ovens or switching to LED lights. And this is the key part, right? Each task got an owner. That creates accountability and makes sure things actually get done.
Okay, a plan is great, but it's just a piece of paper until you actually do something. So let's see how Old Town White Coffee turned their strategy into real-world changes that you could actually see and feel. Their approach was basically a 3-part strategy. First, smart purchasing. That means any new equipment they bought had to be energy efficient right out of the box. Second, operational control. This is all about changing habits, like the simple act of turning off lights and ovens when they're not being used. And third, and this is so important, team involvement. They trained everybody so they understood why this matters and how they could help out.
All right, so they built the system, they found the energy hogs, they made the plan, and they put it all into action. So, did it work? Let's get to the moment of truth. What were the results?
This is where the story gets really interesting and really honest. Their internal plan was pretty ambitious. They were hoping for a 20% savings. The actual savings in that first year, 2%. Now, that might sound a little disappointing at first, but it's an incredibly important lesson. Because here's the thing. The real win here wasn't some huge number in the first year. The real win was creating the system itself. That 2%, that's a solid start. And now they have the foundation, the data, and the process to keep improving, year after year after year. Energy management is a marathon, not a sprint.
Ultimately, the principles we've just seen, measure, plan, act, and improve, can be used pretty much anywhere. And that really makes you think, doesn't it? If you were to do this kind of detective work, what do you think you'd find? What's the big energy hog hiding in plain sight where you work?